All right. Hey everyone. How's it going? Hope you're having an awesome Sunday. Just I need to have a look at the anonymous questionnaire. Maybe there's something in there this week. Look. I forgot to repost it in the channel, so I don't think there's gonna be anything in there. Nope, not for this week. We do have some questions from the community though. We can get started with those. If this is your first time, welcome. And also, don't be afraid to post any questions that you have about the games industry. It doesn't even have to be about the games industry, right? It can be just about me personally, or I don't know, my history, what I did before this, like how I got to be in Berlin, whatever, you name it. Like my favorite food. I have a question like that later. Can be anything. Alright, let me just open up my coffee and then we'll get started. How's everyone doing in the chat? Little flaky. I did some adjustments to it, so I don't know. I don't know if I made it better or worse. Still getting used to the whole thing, to be honest. What do you... Well, it's gonna be hard to explain. What do you mean with flaky? Good feedback. Doing well. Okay, how's living in Berlin? That's a good question. Yeah, it's probably gonna be like an ongoing process, like my mic. Okay, let's dive into the questions. There's some questions from Nikita, but she will be joining us later, so I don't know. I'll have a listen to it later though. That's some good feedback for the mic, because I know that I did some adjustments to it yesterday. All right, first question. This is we're gonna start with the community questions first, right? So we have like the Discord channel where people can post their questions too. So we're gonna tackle those first, and then I'll dive into the questions from the chat. Food questions. What are some common questions to know or watch out for, even in the beginning stage of interviews? Basically, the HR stage. This is from OVA, from our Discord channel. Even in the beginning stage of interviews, basically the HR stage. So we're not talking about portfolio questions then. Let's think, because there are some soft skill questions, right? Like how good you fit into a team, how good you deal with stress, and most of the time I don't know if that, it always felt like that to me, but most of the time they kind of test it to ask you like a really weird question. But definitely, where do you see yourself in like a couple of years? It sounds like a really what is it, like a really straightforward question, but it's good to have the long-term perspective of that person in mind, where say in 5 years they want to be like a senior and they're just getting into the industry. That's something that the company and that person can work on together to help facilitate that. Ame Dominguez, thanks for the follow. But yeah, definitely questions like that, where it's like, where do you see yourself in the future? Or definitely the question that's going to come up in the HR stage is your salary expectations. So that's definitely going to be in there. What else? This depends on where you are right now, but the willingness to relocate. And this is actually interesting right now with COVID. I don't know how that changed or if that will change. It's probably going to be, well, it's most certainly going to be company to company based 100%, where some companies might be more open to working from home as compared to others. I wouldn't say watch out for though. Like this is just like a chat that you're having with another person, right? So I know it's easy to say to not get stressed, but don't get stressed about this. Just treat it as like a normal conversation that you're having. Just nothing special. I know that it's easy to say, right? Because this is like your break-in moment into the industry most of the time. So yeah. Just be yourself. That's all you can do. That's probably the best you can do too. So let's have a look. Is Nikita already in the chat? I might just keep her questions for a little bit later. So we have a curveball question in here. Can you name your favorite dish, and is it different from what you liked as a kid or a teen? That is a really good question. What is my favorite dish? Because I'm still a big fan of pasta with spinach and minced meat with just a little bit of, what's it called? Like it's not cream cheese, but it's sort of like, I don't know. It's called smeerkaas. I don't even know what the translation is for that. But it's some sort of like soft cheese that you put into it to just make it nice and creamy, basically. It's gonna fucking fill you up, that's for sure. JM Suoma, thanks for the follow. Yeah, so that was pretty quick. Nikita had a couple of questions which were pretty good, but we're gonna wait for her until she gets back. There's one more question from the community, also from Nikita, so let me add that to the list as well. All right, let's dive into the chat then. In the meantime, yeah, cheese spread. I think it's called that. Thanks for helping me out. How's living in Berlin? It's good, but I don't know. Like, there's something for me personally. There's like the language barrier, and we're not that fussed with learning the language. So this is not up to Berlin. This is more like our adaptiveness to adapt to Berlin. It's kind of weird, right? Because we never had the intention of like settling down in Berlin. So we know that at some point we'll be moving countries again. So that's also why we don't really try to learn a language, or we don't really do like we go through the effort of learning it, which is, it's kind of stupid to say it, right? Because I mean, it should be like a fun challenge, but it's so relative to Dutch that we can get by with what we can talk about. So I mean, it's kind of weird, but we know that we're gonna we know that we're gonna move on at some point. So that's why we're not really focusing on the language that much. But living in Berlin itself is amazing. Like, it's a really diverse city as well. So you have you have like the remnants of the war still, like from the, well, not from the war, and also from the Cold War, where you have the two sides that were split back then, and you can still somewhat feel it. Like, we live in the east, which is the, would you say, like, well, it was the former Russian side of it, and it's definitely cheaper. We also live a bit more outside of town, so that's also where the language barrier comes in a little bit, because we live in like a really residential area. We don't live in the center. So it's stupid stuff like just going to the butchers and not being able to ask for something, or just being afraid to ask for something. It sounds really silly, but it's just like, nah, why bother? Nah, I can just get it from the fridge or whatever. Oh man, now that I'm saying it, it sounds even more ridiculous, but I don't know. Maybe I'm afraid. It's a good question though, because Berlin is pretty awesome to live. Like, so it's so diverse. Like a lot of cool stuff coming up, like all over the place. About to devour a roast dinner, so it could be worse. Damn, that sounds good for me. I just had food, but that sounds good. Mr. Giggles, do you think people will work more from home after the COVID stuff? Is it a good thing or a bad thing in your opinion? I think so. What I think is that companies will never give up their office space, or they might diminish on it, but they do want to have like offices. So what I see in the future is sort of like a halfway, or like a 70 to 30 split, where people that wanna work in the office, they can come to the office, and the people that want to work from home, they can work from home if they want to. But I think there's going to be a system where it's not going to be permanent. It's going to be even if you're working from home, there's going to be like a couple of days a week, a month, that you're going to be going to the office to just rent or to just like communicate better, because that is the biggest thing. Like, communication over like online is always going to be, there's always that little bit of a barrier compared to what you can do in real life. There's that personal connection that's missing. So I don't think that it's either a good or a bad thing. For some people like me, for example, like I'm 100% okay working from home. Like, I love this. Like, this is it sounds weird to say, right? But this is like a really good thing for me, because I was thinking about potentially at some point going freelance and working from home full time, and this is like a trial run of that, some sort. So it's like a really good thing for me. And it's also cutting down on my commute, so I save like 2 hours every day that I can just spend on doing other stuff. And I don't really have that issue with making a disconnect between my personal life and my work, because I was already doing that before. So yeah, but there's definitely people that are like the complete opposite, where they can't work from home. Like, they absolutely can't be focused. They absolutely can't get their head around it. Stay-at-home work is a nightmare for a rookie. Yeah, exactly. I think I'm in a position where I'm already used to a lot of the stuff that, if you're trying to get into the industry, is definitely going to be way more tricky. Where if you say this is the period where you graduate and you want to have your first working experience, normally you would have face-to-face contact with your mentors, the people of your team. You can get to know them really well. You can get properly settled in a company too, because you do all these other activities, like going for lunch together, maybe going for a drink on a Friday. Like, all that stuff is missing now, and it's kind of unfortunate for people getting into the industry and like really making that connection. So yeah, man, I feel you. I hope it's gonna be somewhat gone. Well, not gone, but that we have better protective measures against it. So yeah, is it a good or a bad thing? It's both. It depends on the person. Food questions, go. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for that curveball. Really appreciated that. Do you ever use Atlas textures as decals in Unreal Engine 4? Let's think. Yeah, sometimes. It depends on how you would do it, right? Like, I cut them up and then add like a decal to it, like a decal material to it. So I have like an Atlas sheet with like all different kinds of decals on it, and then I just cut out like the sections that I need for the decals that I want. Cheese spread. At least a lot of people in Berlin speak English. That's true. It's like I said in the beginning, it's more in the center, and we live in like the residential area, so like an hour away from the city center, roughly. So yeah, we don't have that many English speaking people in like the local shops and all that. Did you have doner kebab in Berlin? How did you like it? It's sort of related to what we have in Belgium as well, so there's not that big of a difference, and I like it. It's fucking awesome. It's I can tell you this, it's way better than in the UK. I don't know what they do in the UK, but oof, no, it's not that great. Oh, Nikita's in chat as well. I haven't touched your questions just yet, so we're gonna go through them in a bit. I saved them. Let's have a look. I might do that first so that I don't have to keep looking over actually. Okay, I just need to remind where I'm headed. Okay, so to your questions, Nikita. Did you ever get the feeling you had gone down the wrong career route, even though it's what you love doing? Really good question, but I don't know. I don't think I've ever had that feeling because I was always excited about the new thing that I was trying out. Like even like I remember my first job, like a student job in Pizza Hut. I wasn't excited about that one, I can tell you that. But I think everything after that, once I got the taste of working, I think that's something that I got from my dad. It's, I don't know, I just enjoy working and just yeah, I like just building it up for yourself and like really being independent and like getting your own money and all that stuff. I think that was like the biggest thing for me. And every job since then, like I've worked student jobs in like a chemical plant where my dad works. I worked doing dishes in like a Chinese restaurant. I worked in a couple of other restaurants too. I can't even remember which ones. And then but yeah, that's obviously not something that you make a career out, right? I was never intending to make a career out of any of those things. It was more like, oh, this is really cool because I get money and I can afford like a new PC or whatever over time. Yeah, I'm trying to think because it's a difficult situation to be in, right? Did you ever get the feeling you had gone down the wrong career, even though it's what you love doing? I don't think it's a wrong career if it's doing what you love, right? It might be like an oversimplification of it, because sometimes there's also struggles that come with it, and oftentimes you get to like the foot of a hill, like the challenge that you need to overcome, and it's just about pushing through. But it's weird because you don't know what's on top of the hill or what's behind the hill or what's next. So it's always this constant questioning of like, oh, is this gonna be good enough, or is this the thing that's gonna get me into the industry in this case? So if it's something that you really truly love doing, and this is there's so many variations in that as well, right? Where you can love art for art's sake, or you can love the process of art. And there's a difference in it, because I started out loving art, but over time I started to love the process of art more. And I think that is more important than the actual loving of art in this case. Because you can love the end result, but if it takes you like a couple of months, in this case, like environment art, right? It's always like a big investment of personal time, and you don't love the process of going through it. There's always gonna be things that you don't like about it, for sure. But if you don't love the process in general, I think you're always going to be running up against that same wall. And I'm also trying to think how it happened, like what the difference is. Yeah, what the loving art to loving the creation process itself. I think it's just over time, as soon as you move away from all the technical hurdles that you have in the beginning, because there's a lot of them. Like, I mean, you can name all of them, like modeling, trim sheets, baking, texturing, all that stuff is always like a struggle from zero. Like, those are all like separate disciplines that you need to kind of master or get to know until you get to like a good end result for like 3D environment art. So yeah, it's tough. It's also about just having the persistence to go through it, I think. I guess that question just came from feelings that I wasn't expecting to have, because this has always been set in stone what I want to do, and it's hard to feel that waver purely because I'm struggling in the industry. Okay. Yeah, so it's like you always had this idea of like, look, I'm just going to be an artist in the industry. But then now that you're getting to a point where you're struggling to get in, yeah, that's where it gets tricky, right? But those feelings are perfectly normal, though. I think everyone goes through that cycle. I'm trying to think back at how I felt, because there was definitely moments, but I think in my case they were just overshadowed by just the amount of new stuff that I was learning and just the new things that I was doing, and also the fun that I was having in exploring those new things. So yeah, I think in the long run you're not going to really think about it, because once you're in, like it doesn't matter anymore, right? But it's now that you're in the thick of it, I think it's more about just the persistency of like pushing through and actually learning, or like really focusing on the skills that you need to get into the games industry. And yeah, just really focusing on them and try to get in. I hope that answered your question. I mean, there's so many different avenues that we can take with this question, right? So many different angles that you can see it from. It's a really good question. Because the short answer is no. I don't think I've ever felt like I've gone down the wrong career path. I was just more about like, I'll get there in the end. Like, just pushing through it. Why do you do what you do? Because it's fun, and I've always loved the ability to build worlds. Like, it was always about me. Like, well, that was the thing. Like, for me, it was always about like, I want to make worlds. I want to make like a world that I can really envelop myself in, and like imagine that I'm there, and then try to tell these stories that are interesting to people. And I would say, even in looking at my portfolio right now, it took me a long while to get to that step. I was always kind of touching it, but never fully dedicating to it because all the technical stuff got in the way. And right now, so let's say I'm almost 6 years in the industry. So if we take into account the 4 years of uni with that as well, and we round it up, right? Let's just make it 10 years. I'm only getting to the stage now where I'm comfortable enough with all the technical skills that I have to sort of execute on the idea. of um, building these worlds and building these interesting stories and really, yeah, really just enjoying the stuff that I do. And there's still like mishaps with like the last environment that I did, which was like a sci-fi environment for people that don't really know, and I was just focused on the wrong thing. I was focused on designing the thing, and then I just gave up, like, I don't know, 6 months to a year in. So it's still trial and error at some point. Share your possible future projects. That's an interesting question, because when I read that, I had to think about it, because I don't really think about my future projects. I'm more focused about like what I'm doing right now. I think most of my future projects are more related to Beyond Extent than my personal work, because I see my personal work more as just fun, and I'm just having fun. I'm getting some experience in just creating some nice scenes. So let's see. Maybe I'll go back to the sci-fi scene. Who knows? Share your, well, when it comes to Beyond Extent though, like there's some stuff that we're working on. So the last thing we did obviously was with big shout out to Lloyd as well from the community. He helped me set up like the team challenge, which was we are your future projects, exactly. Yeah, but the team challenges, they were really good, and they were really fun to just look at how the both teams developed in their own way. Even with such a technically restricted theme, it was still nice to see like the outcome of it, and then them being featured on 80 level, which is super awesome. So there's definitely I think that's definitely like the biggest focus. So team challenges is one, and then also kicking back up the normal challenges, which are going to be in 2 days. We're going to have like a new small challenge. I think this is going to be a good one, and I might have some gifts involved with that, but I'm not going to spoil anything more. And then other than that, currently I'm also talking to some people for community classes or like community lessons. So it would be like a live stream or like a Q&A with a person from the industry, and they either do like a workshop or like a presentation or something like that inside of the Discord community, and that will then be recorded and uploaded to YouTube after a while too. So that's something that I'm currently working on. But it's all about it being sustainable, right? Because right now it's me, and then with the help of Lloyd, and on the podcast side we have William too, right? But it's all about the minimal team. I don't want to expand to something like really massive and then lose sight of the community itself. So I want to take it slow and like expand slowly. All right, this is the last question, and then we'll dive into some more chat questions as well. Thanks for all these questions, by the way, Nikita. These are some good questions. So, what are some helpful tips that drastically changed how you worked / your workflow? This is something that I brought up earlier, right? Because I was still working in Maya, and with earlier I mean in past AMAs too, where the edit edge flow was a big one. That was definitely like a big learning thing. Let's think. Drastically changed how you worked. There's probably so many occasions that I kind of lost count. I think the biggest thing recently is just switching to Blender. I think I've been using Blender for 6-ish months, maybe more, and I think it's super nice. It's so nice to work in that program. Just have it look nice, have like an have a nice looking viewport, and just being able to see what it's gonna look like in Unreal Engine in sort of a more representable way. Change my workflow. Definitely the discovery of trim sheets and how to reduce the amount of unique textures. That was probably also like a really big one, where at some point I was just doing all the assets in a scene with like unique bakes, and it's just super time consuming. Making a high poly, making a low poly, and I was also doing them in sub D, so I wasn't doing like any optimized workflows. What you would have now, like having a low poly version, then just bringing that into ZBrush, then upping the res on it, and then just sculpting damage or like sculpting edges on it to make it more organic. That's probably like a really quick way of getting high to low poly, but I was only doing it in like sub D. I wasn't using ZBrush at that point. So yeah, but it was just like the discovery that you can do so much with like trim sheets or titleable textures, or even with shaders inside of Unreal Engine, like where you can set up like a vertex paint material that is blending between two materials with like a height map, and you don't need to have like a map that you paint in Substance Painter or something like that. That is like a really big discovery. Yeah, vertex painting blew my mind too. It's so easy to set up now, because I know that I set up vertex painting, I think in Maya at some point, and then only use that in trying to think back in UDK. I don't even know if I ever tried or if it had vertex painting in UDK. I don't know. Trying to think back. I didn't use UDK for so long though. It was only like half a year or something. Yeah, you can do so much, like with simple setups, with like especially vertex painting for creating variation in walls. You don't need to add like a massive amount of subdivisions. You can just get away with having like a really good height texture to blend the two. It's yeah, it obviously depends on the program that you're using, right? Because I'm super dependent on Unreal Engine, and I can do a lot of my stuff in Unreal Engine. So it's there's definitely a difference there. But this is a good question. I'm actually thinking about like thinking more about this, and like actually going through like a list and thinking through it, because I think this is gonna be recurring. So yeah, good question, Nikita. Thank you so much. All right, let's dive back into the chat questions though. Where were we? So, question from Pame Dominguez. Do companies require to learn their native language? I'm thinking on moving to other countries if I don't find a job in the UK. No, most bigger studios, they are English, like they speak English, or they have like a primarily English speaking language, because it's just way easier. For example, our studio, we have, I don't know, something like 30, 35 or more, even different nationalities. People come from all over the place. So the main language spoken is definitely English with us. It gets a little bit trickier when you go to indie dev, right? And especially smaller companies, they might have a different culture. But if you're looking at the bigger companies, most of them, they have an English speaking rule in the company. It also makes it easier to talk to different companies within the same umbrella. Say with our example, right, with Ubisoft, they if every company spoke their native language, like it would be so difficult to communicate between companies, or like between studios within the same company. But like an indie company is much more cheaper if everyone's working from home. Yeah, that is true. No rent and stuff like that. But I think the real nice thing about an indie company is just that really family type feel where everyone can feel like really close together, and that's something that you sort of lose to a certain degree in the bigger companies. So yeah, I think what you got, like what are they called, like WeWork, like these communal spaces where you can just rent out for like a day a week or something. I think something like that might be like a bigger part in the future too, where you have indie companies, instead of always working from home, you have them working in like a communal space like this, where they can just say pop in on Monday and Friday, just saying something, right? So that they're all working together, and then the rest of the week they might just work from home. Could be cool. Did you know Doner is invented in Germany by a Turkish immigrant? Yeah, I do, because it's like a big thing here in Germany. I think the original restaurant that came up with that invention is still around, and it always has like massive queues outside. We didn't go there though. I haven't been there yet. But I've also heard that it's not the best doner anyway, so it doesn't sound like I'm missing out. Kokish Emo, thanks for joining again. I'm doing good. Looking mint. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I decided to refresh and get my girlfriend to help me with my hair. A little bit shorter. Okay, I guess that the question just came from feelings. Yeah. You'll get there. It's it is a tough competition to get into the games industry. Especially, that might actually be interesting how that is going to be impacted by the COVID situation. Because say you have all students from all over the place coming, just applying for Blizzard. I'm just naming a studio out there, and they have a policy where you can work remote. The application pool is going to be so much bigger than it was ever before. So I think, yeah, I wonder if it's actually going to make it worse. But I don't think they're going to have a policy in place like that because of taxation reasons and pay and all that stuff. There's a lot to figure out when it comes to companies like that. And I think it just becomes a hassle if you say you have like a company with like 1,000 people working all in different places, and they all need to have like a separate what is it, like a separate way of taxing. It just becomes like a hassle for the company itself. At least that's what I think. I'm not a financial expert anyway. I feel like I'm on like a stockbroker site now. Don't take this as financial advice, people. Next one from the Havoc 2. Did you get into the industry right after uni? If not, how long did it take you, and how did you bridge the gap? So I got in straight away from uni because the last year at my uni there was a mandatory internship that we needed to do, and this is the thing that I keep saying. I was one of the first ones to got my internship because I started looking during the summer vacation. What we normally had to do is you could look at you could start looking for internships at the beginning of September, and that was like the normal timeline for people. But I was like, look, if I just want to hack the system a little bit, I could just start Oh wait, I think we skipped the question. I'll get back to that question in a bit. Sorry, Kokish Emo. So, yeah, to get back to this question though. So I started looking into summer vacation, right? And then as soon as the new year started, like in September, I already had an internship. And I think that's also what really helped me get an internship, because I was looking when no one else was looking yet. But I did send out, like, I don't know, a lot of applications. I don't even know how many anymore. I think I ballparked the number at like 100-ish applications to like studios all over the place. Like even the ones that I knew that I for sure wasn't gonna get, like Bethesda in America, like Blizzard. I would just like shotgun approach and like apply everywhere that I could. But yeah, and then after that internship, when that was over, there was like a period of 2 weeks, I think, where I went back to Belgium for just a little bit, and then went straight back to the UK to start working with the company, because they hired me to become a graduate environment artist. And that was Frontier, by the way. So yeah, I think most of the people in our uni got a job straight out of uni. I think so. I don't know anyone who was unemployed from the start. I think they all started with a job, and some people have been unemployed since, but I think everyone got a job in the beginning that I know of. And there's probably like a lot of people that I don't know about. Yes, so let's get back to the question from Kogishemo. How many hours you had to train to become an environment artist? Good question. That is a really good question. Because I don't know, I can say that definitely feels more than 10,000. And this is the thing, like I just have fun with experimenting with new things as well. Like there was a moment when I was really into blueprinting. There was a moment where I was really into programming and scripting and writing my own scripts for Blender or Maya. And I usually go through like phases like this, but environment art is the consistent thing. So it makes it really difficult to tell. If I was more focused on environment art, I would probably be way better than I'm right now. I would probably also be bored. Honestly. I just like I'm a person that needs variation in my life. Like I want to do, like if something's interesting, I'll just dive into it. I'll go down that rabbit hole. And that's the thing I enjoy. Cuz you only have this one life, right? Doesn't hurt to try something new every now and again. By the way, again, more training hours to my wallet. 10 hours training yesterday. Oh yeah, that's awesome. What did you do in those 10 hours? Let's have a look from Mr. Giggles. With Houdini coming up in the industry, do you think artists become more technical and less artsy? No, I don't think so. I think there's always going to be a need for artists, and there is like a separate branch of artists called technical artists that do the more technical stuff anyway. And most of the time how that works is either the programmers or the technical artists help set up tools or workflows that help artists be more artsy. So there's definitely going to be Houdini's definitely going to become more and more a part of the industry. I think it's already a big part of the industry, especially with open world games, just for like the procedural creation of like massive landscapes and the foliage that is spawned on top of it. So it's already there, but the way that we get control of it, I should really bring up that presentation from Far Cry 5. Gives like a really good indication. Because the way that we get control over it is we have like a painting tool, or like at least in Far Cry 5 they had like a painting tool that you would basically be painting like regions for biomes, and then it would spawn all the foliage inside of it. I'll see if I can find it. Procedural world generation. Here we go. So I'll just link this in the chat if you ever want to check that out. So this is like the stuff that they do is pretty crazy, honestly. Like the cliff generation, all the biome generation, like terrain erosion, like all that stuff is pretty interesting. So definitely have a look at that if like Houdini interests you. And if that is like a route that you want to take, you can definitely spend more time in Houdini compared to normal art and just focus on becoming a technical artist. But then you're kind of leaving the art behind for more, like I mentioned before, like workflow, tools, creation. Basically, you're forming the bridge between programming side and artist side, where you basically make the tools nice to use for artists in like a really what is it, like a really simplified way, because there's more to it, right? There's always more to it. Like you're also going to be responsible for optimization, seeing if everything fits into the budget art wise. Gonna be stuff like that too. Would you recommend starting to look for a job even if I haven't finished university? I feel that companies will say no because I haven't finished, and that they're not gonna wait for me. It depends on your work, really. But like technically, it doesn't really hurt if you already start looking for a job. But you have to think about like what you're gonna do then. Like, are you gonna combine university and a full-time job as well? I think it's gonna be too tricky. Or would you just leave university behind as soon as you have a job? I mean, that could be a valid exit strategy if your work is already up to the standards that require you to get into the industry. Hey, Super 8! Got to leave early. Awesome. Yeah, thanks for joining in, man. I really appreciate it. I feel like companies will say no because I haven't finished, and they're not going to wait for me. There's always going to be opportunities in the industry. It's all dependent on, well, most of it is going to be dependent on your work, and there's also like the factor of your location and how good you are of a team fit, right? It's not only dependent on the hard skills, as we call it, but I don't see, yeah, like if your work is good enough and you think you have what it takes to get into the industry, yeah, I don't think it hurts to start looking for a job. But don't get caught in the fear of missing out. There's always going to be like new opportunities. Because I think some people just get carried away with just being, oh no, I need to do it now because now there's like a lot of openings. There's always going to be like new openings, and there's always going to be like new times where you can get into the industry. So don't get caught in the fear of missing out. All right, been already going for an hour. Jeez, like almost an hour. Thanks everyone for joining, by the way. I really appreciate you all being here. I'm gonna repeat the question, or like repeat the sentiment. I've set up a bot for it, but I don't think it's good enough. So if you're new to the stream and you have anything that you want to ask me, just feel free to just drop it in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer it. It can be anything. It can be industry related. It can be personal work related. It can be about me. It can also be just like random curveballs, like talking about like Leon did, talking about my favorite dish and how did it change from when I was a kid. I don't think we even answered that second part of it. I can't remember anyway what I liked as a kid or a teen. I think once I discovered that dish, it was just the same thing over and over. That's been my favorite dish. Okay, so that's a very different sentiment from what my uni is like. Some people are already prepared for becoming unemployed after their time in uni. Already preparing, okay. Yeah, it sounds, well, it's pretty weird to say, but it's like a different environment now. Where I've heard a lot of this because a lot of people are looking to work from home. A lot of people are trying to find like remote positions. It's tricky. It's tricky for me to say. But, well, you know what? The best thing you can do is just focus on your art. Try to make it the best as it can be. And, that's the thing. There's nothing more you can do, really, to simplify it. It sounds like a typical mom statement, right? Like, just try your best. That's all you can do. I think it's a good sentiment, though. All right. Damn, you got some pretty good questions today, though. But if anyone has any more questions, just feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm trying to think back to your question, Leon, like what I liked as a kid. It's not really a dish, but we were talking about it yesterday with my mom, that there's just some weird stuff that we did with like leftover from pasta, for instance. Like if we had leftovers of just pasta, like no sauce or anything, we would just add sugar on top of it and we would have dessert. And also, what else? Like just slice a banana, put it on bread, add some brown sugar to it, just eat that. Some weird stuff. All right, but this is good though. Oh. Oh wait, what happened? Oh, I think the chat is only updating on. Oh no, it's fine. Sounds almost sacrilegious. I love it. I think everyone's gonna be like, what the fuck? I still do it to this day though, to be honest. Like with leftovers of pasta, just add a little bit of sugar on top of it and then I have dessert. Done. I need to try that now. Oh no. It doesn't work too great. Like if you know that you're gonna use all your pasta and you did like some olive oil in like the water to add a little bit of flavor to it, doesn't really work too great, right? So it's just purely boil it in water. Oh fuck, everyone's gonna try it now and everyone's gonna call me like an idiot next time. What have I done? Oh well, we'll see. I'll own up to it. Next AMA is just all gonna be like my idiotic choices with pasta. Yeah. Exactly. Next AMA is gonna be rough. So does the pasta need to be hot? You can do it both ways. Like it works better with hot pasta, right? because then the sugar melts a little bit. Oh my god. But this is also what makes it fun, right? Just bringing up some random stories like that, and then people just holding me to it. I love it. Okay. I don't think we have any more questions, right? Because I think we might it's nice. It's like around hour. I think we can just leave this session here. So yeah, I thank you all for joining. It was again, it was awesome to have you all here. I love doing this stuff, especially with some random curveball questions in there. I always love those questions. It's good. Oh, we got some last question to round it off. Okay, cool. What is the work you are most proud of? Most proud of? Is that from personal work or just professional work? Because those are like two separate things, right? Well, at least in my mind. You could technically clump them together. It's a difficult question though. Let's just split them off. So like from like a personal work perspective, it's definitely I think it's definitely my latest scene. But that latest scene is already like 2 years ago or something. I think there was something there where I went into more storytelling. I figured out a good way to do modular kits. So I'm really proud of that. And I even framed it and hung it on the wall. I know it might be egocentric, but it's also a good reminder to keep improving. And then from like a professional level, that is a really good question. Some of the stuff that I'm working on now, but I can't really say anything about that. So we'll have to wait on that. But if we don't take that into account, it's so tricky, right? Because I did so much smaller stuff in oh, I think the spooky set. The spooky modular set for Planet Coaster was definitely probably the thing that I'm proud of, because that was my first real modular kit and I had to build that myself. And I was the only person responsible for like the whole thing. Yeah, and that was pretty expansive, to be honest. I still remember when we got like a tracking list of, it had the name of the asset and then just like a couple of checkboxes. So like what was on the list? It was a bit different for me, but it was like low poly model, high poly model, unwrapping, texturing, game implementation, and then like final feedback or something. And I think I had like 4 pages of stuff that I needed to finish, like in a pretty short amount of time. But it was awesome to work on that. It was really nice to be responsible for like a full kit like that. All right, Leon. I'll let your question through. One more question. I heard more cynical people talk about how bad artists who still get in, get menial tasks like UV unwrapping all day. Is it true that some people do the same very niche task like this all day? I haven't encountered that. I haven't encountered, like, a good studio will always try to bring out the best artist in you. Because I honestly think that if you have like an artist working their ass off for like a couple of years. They show a good portfolio because you hired them. So there must be something that interests you. And then you only put them on like UV duty, so to say. I honestly don't think that's a good mentality to have. Like, you're gonna push them out quicker than try to hold them. That doesn't mean that there aren't gonna be like periods or weeks where you might be doing like some very niche or like repetitive tasks, because that is honestly just a part of the games industry. For example, if I bring up an example from Planet Coaster, where I just had to get in like a lot of super basic shapes into the engine. That was like one of my tasks for like 2 weeks, I think. And it was just like going into work, opening the scene in Maya, exporting it, and then just opening a new scene with like the new asset. So there's definitely going to be, there might be periods like that. Let me put it like that. But even that, like, sometimes you have to think about the payoff too, right? Where, like, that was a bit of a hassle to get those shapes all in, but people absolutely loved it. Like, it was 100% appreciated. And I think you can always see the good in even the more menial tasks. Doesn't mean that you always have to be positive about it too, right? But yeah, there will always be some droughts in development for sure. But it's not that you have to be always positive about it too. You can try, but you also have to be honest that, or open about, like, look, this is not what I want to do. Like, if it's also a team effort, right? So if you feel like you can't do it anymore, then just talk about that and just say, like, look, I've been doing this for like 2 weeks. Can we have someone else like at least do it for this week, and then I'll jump back on it. I just need something else to do in the meantime. And I honestly think that if the company is there, the company is there for you as you are for the company as well. At least that's how it should be. But yeah, exactly. I've heard about some cases where some studios that I'm not gonna name did take like students for unwrapping, but I would say that's like an exception, not a rule. Because it's like I said in the beginning, it's just a really good way to push you out of the gaming industry. Like there's nothing there to build like a relationship with you and like the others, or like the company itself. So yeah, I hope that answers it, man. It's a good question. A good question. It might also be, I'm thinking about how you can turn it into a positive, where you can experiment with some different ways, right? Like just from like a personal standpoint, where if say you're doing UVs all day, worst case scenario, it's just experimenting with like different ways, like different packing algorithms, or like different things. You become a master unwrapper after a while. Yeah. Well, but that's also the thing, right? Like, is that a thing you want to be known for? Maybe not, because then that might push you into a rabbit hole, or like a, what's it called, like a pigeonhole, where you just get pushed into that corner. Like, look, that's the master unwrapper. You can unwrap everything. Doesn't mean you want to do it. All right, some good questions, people. I'm gonna cut it off here. This was a really good session. Thanks everyone for joining. And yeah, I'm gonna be here every Sunday, right? For most of the people, you know the drill. I'm gonna be here every Sunday, same time. Think about some questions, even the silly ones, and just fire away. I'll be here next Sunday. All right, guys. And yeah, thanks for joining, everyone. I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.